Hey, welcome to the Men's Room. I'm your host, Mark Sparks. Today's topic, Dating 101. And who better to have on the show than Kateryna Spivak, our dating and relationship coach. Hi.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, Kateryna. How
Good,
are you?
Good. I'm very good, thank you.
So let's jump into this. Why don't you tell me and everybody who's watching a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Okay. So I'm a dating and relationship coach, and basically that means that I help people to develop the skills and confidence to attract people to develop relationships with. So I don't function as an introduction service, but I help people to develop the skills that they need to go out and meet people. We cover the gamut of the dating and relationship process, from self-esteem, self-confidence, tweaking one's image, looking better, putting your best foot forward, improving one's communication skills, reading body language, interpersonal skills, conversation skills, flirting with women, basically everything a guy needs to know to meet women and then to get into a relationship and develop a solid, healthy relationship with her.
I come to you and I want to go on some dates with a few ladies that I have in mind. What would you tell me to get me into the right
frame of mind and how to do it? Okay, well, essentially, there's some things that a guy has to keep in mind before he's going on a date. He wants to put himself into the right mindset.
Okay.
Going out on a date is not about determining whether this person is the one. And if somebody goes out with that intention, they're probably setting themselves up for frustration. And they're going to be really nervous, really tense throughout the date because they're looking for a particular outcome. It's not about a particular outcome. It's really about the process. So the purpose of the date is to get to know the other person a little bit better, to find out about her, what makes her tick, who is she as a person, to find out whether you have things in common, whether you can talk. Do you guys have a good rapport? Is it easy for you to talk? Are you able to have fun with her? Are you attracted to her? Do you have similar interests, similar values, things like that?
Right.
So you're looking to lay the groundwork to see if there's some potential down the road.
Right.
What I've found is that sometimes, even though there isn't an initial attraction, it can develop. But if it doesn't develop by the second or third date, then I would say forget it. Then you're kind of wasting your time.
Then you're just friends.
Yeah, then you're just friends.
I think one of the biggest things, particularly on first dates, as guys, I think we're so focused on trying to figure out who this girl is, who this woman is, and we go through the interview. How do I go about getting to know somebody without coming across like a police officer?
Okay. Well, some women might like that, the uniform,
the uniform
and all
thing,
that,
right?
show up in the uniform, and you might score some points. But or conversely, you may have a woman doing it to the guy, right? Where it's like she's got her 20 questions and her girlfriend said, make sure you ask about this, make sure this, and make sure that. So she's got her 20 questions. But what guys and girls both need to do is to have a dialogue, not a monologue. It's not an interrogation. It's not a job interview. So you're asking each other questions and you're really listening to what she has to say. You're giving her time to talk, you're listening. Say she says, for instance, that one of her interests is traveling and she's been to Costa Rica. And some guys, because they're so nervous and they're only thinking about, well, what am I going to say next, okay? And do you ever experience that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're not really listening because they're just thinking about, well, and then I'm going to talk about that award I won at work, and I'm going to impress her with that, and he starts to puff up a little bit, and that's the wrong thing to do because that kind of thing is really boring to her. She wants to relate to you, she wants to connect to you and find out who you are and see if you have things in common. So she talks about her trip, and instead of just going, oh yeah, and then so what else do you like to do? That's a conversation killer. Continue the conversation, ask open-ended questions about it. She's given you this material, so if you're really listening, you're going to take it and you're going to use it. So you're going to say, really, Costa Rica, when did you go? What did you like about it? Why did you decide to go there? What was your favorite part about the trip? And that continues the conversation, and suddenly she's feeling that you're really interested in her and what she's saying. And she's feeling really good about that. She's feeling listened to and heard and special, which is what a woman really needs from a guy, to feel like she's got his undivided attention. And you're also doing that with your body language, like you are right now. It's the good eye contact, the focused eye contact, the warm, inviting body language, turning towards the person. all of these things say to the person that you're really interested in being there and really interested in talking to them, as opposed to turning away, as opposed to looking around the room, looking bored, that kind of thing.
Right.
So as I was saying, back to the trip thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so as you're continuing to try to build rapport, what you want to do is to highlight similarities between you and her,
okay, yeah.
right? Because you want her to think that you guys have a lot of things in common. And if you have a
Right.
lot of things in common, then she's going to want to go out with you again.
Right.
She's having fun with you. You have a lot to talk about. She's thinking, hey, we're on the same wavelength. This guy gets me. This could be really good. So some of the ways that you do that, you try to mirror her body language. So if she's sitting in a particular way, like if she starts leaning in, if she's really interested in talking to you, you start doing that too, because you're saying to her through your body language, yeah, I'm really
We're on the
enjoying
same
talking to you.
wavelength.
Yeah,
Right,
like
right.
we're in the same place,
Yeah.
right? Mirroring, and studies have shown that when people are in sync with each other, they just do that naturally.
Right.
If you watch couples, happy couples that is, and they're sitting across a table in a restaurant, they're really in sync with each other. They both lean in at the same time. They lean back. They might hold their drink from their glasses at the same time. All that kind of thing suggests that they're really in sync and they've got good rapport. And that's what you want to suggest. And other ways you can do that is by highlighting those similarities. So she talks about going to Costa Rica and that she loves traveling. And what do you say? Me too. Wow, what a coincidence. I love traveling too. So suddenly you're building the similarities. It's being suggested to her that you've got a lot in common, and she's getting excited about the possibilities.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we go on to date 2 and 3, and and we start figuring out that I like this person, or
Okay.
we're dating them. So where do I go from there?
Okay. Well, for one thing, you want to treat her well. You want to. I know
So
that
sounds so basic.
it is. I mean, this stuff sometimes is not very complicated, but guys make it complicated, or because they've got a particular mindset, they're not really sure how to address a woman's needs. They're thinking more about what it's like to relate a guy, and guys are pretty low maintenance, right?
Isn't that the
You
truth?
just show up and stare at each other, and you're having a great time. Maybe a game on in the back room, right? And you're having the best time of your life. But it takes a little more than that for a woman. I mean, you don't want to try to impress her. You don't want to work really, really hard to hold her attention. You just want to be yourself. Forget the bragging and forget reading off a list of your accomplishments, because that's pretty transparent. And it also suggests insecurity on your part. If you're trying really hard to impress her, girls can smell that a mile away. It's like, oh God, here he goes. He's trying to impress me. Next I'm going to hear about his car. You hear about how much money he makes. He's more interested in bragging and making a good impression than he is in getting to know her. So that's a mistake that guys can make. So you can talk about yourself, and in fact you want to, because you want to relate to what she's saying, but you don't want to go on and on and on. You want to keep it short, and then you want to turn it around and give it back to her, ask her some more questions, encourage her to talk. She gives you something back, you follow up, you draw similarities, etc. And you keep going back and forth that way.
Right.
And you make sure that it's fun, that you're having a good time together, that she's enjoying your company, you're making her laugh. I've asked a number of women why they got together with a particular guy. And so many of them have said, oh, because he could make me laugh. Like from the very beginning, he had me in stitches. He always cracks me up. And I just couldn't resist him. He was irresistible. Oh, yeah.
So it's not the cool factor. Like, women don't like cool.
Women do like cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So you cleared that
Yeah.
right up. Okay, cool.
Sure they do. But that's not to say that women won't go for a guy who isn't cool. Because I think a lot of women, they know exactly why a guy gets to them. It's either because he's just so charming, he's so funny, he's really interesting, he's got a great sense of adventure, he's really passionate, and she feels that it's very exciting. Or, whatever, he's very knowledgeable, he's really smart, he can teach her things and share things with her, and she finds that really appealing. And sometimes, of course, it's just that he's really hot, and she's really hot for him, and the hormones are raging, and, she's just loving the sex. And that's a big part of it as well.
Right.
So, and sometimes that sort of blinds people to everything else as to whether they really have rapport and whether they're really getting along and they really have things in common. Having sex too soon, that's one of the dangers. You get involved with somebody and you don't really know them and you don't really know why you're there. I've had many clients say that to me, wow, I've gone way too fast, and suddenly I'm this woman's boyfriend. And I don't know how I got here. I have no idea. I didn't plan this relationship. I didn't want to be in this relationship. And suddenly I'm here. Now, how do I get out? and then they're stuck, and then it's really messy. So taking it slowly is a much better idea.
You've been dating somebody, you like them, they're cool, but you've been, kind of just casually dating, if you want to use that term. How do I kind of go about,
Take it to the next level, if
yeah,
you
like how
will.
do I turn many into one?
Well, the best way to start is, for one thing, cut out all the other women, if there were other women. Let them know you've met somebody that you're interested in. You don't want to see 3 women anymore, and they'll take it one way or the other. And then just basically communicate with this woman and let her know how you feel. Women always want to know how guys are feeling. If they really like a guy, right, they want to know, what's he feeling, what's he thinking,
The elusive
does he really
feeling.
care? Exactly,
Yeah,
right?
we
Women
get that all the
complain that
time.
guys don't share their
You don't
feelings.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Exactly. You don't open up. You're not opening up to me. I need to know where you're at. If he communicates with her and he says, I've been feeling lately that I'm starting to develop stronger feelings for you. I can see a future for us. I don't want to see anybody else. I want to be exclusive with you. And that's where I'm at. And I'm curious to know if you're feeling the same thing.
When I have the one, or the one I think is the one, how do I go about being romantic?
Well, the essence of romance is letting the woman know that she's special to you, that you're thinking of her, that you're concerned about her, and that you want to put a smile on her face and make her happy. So you can do that in so many different ways. In the initial stages of the relationship, or sort of things that you can do outside of the house. I'm thinking of outside of the house and inside of the house.
Sure.
You can send cards, you can leave messages on her voicemail at work or on her cell phone. You can send her cute emails to let her know you're thinking of her. You can take her on surprise outings, like just tell her how to dress for a particular evening and tell her it's a surprise, and then take her to a show she's wanted to see, or take her for an overnight B&B thing somewhere, tell her to pack a bag, like those spontaneous surprises. But just letting her know that you're thinking of her. And then things that you can do around the house, whether you're spending a lot of time at each other's places or whether you're living together, you can leave little notes around the house for her. Something on the bathroom mirror. Little sticky notes somewhere, put something in her purse.
Right.
Or if she's got a lunch bag, a little brown paper bag or whatever, put a note in there and she pulls it out at lunchtime and she's, oh, that's so sweet. And she's going to show it to her friends at work, she will, and they're all going, oh, he's so sweet, that kind of thing. And women love that, when they can show their friends and family these gestures, or talk about these gestures that a guy has done for them. Or even, when the kids come along and you're both really tired and you're running around a lot, and everybody's trying to keep all these balls up in the air, right? And maybe you keep forgetting to take out the garbage, or you're not attentive to certain things that need to be done around the house. So if you just do those things without being asked, or you say, hon, I know you've been asking me for a while to fix that doorknob. Well, I'm going to do that this afternoon. I'm going to take care of it. Those kinds of things are romantic to a woman.
Really?
At that, yeah. Like, he's addressing her needs, right? She still has a need for romance, but she wants to know that he's thinking about her needs. And right now, the needs are to get all the stuff done around the house, take care of the kids, those types of things. All couples are going to have times when they have disagreements and they're not getting along, or they're misunderstanding each other. Neither of them is feeling particularly flexible. One wants to do this, one wants to do that, or do it a particular way. It's important to try to compromise, because that's the essence of a good relationship. So you get into a conflict situation and suddenly you're polarized, right? You're like this. And then quite often, if we rely on stereotypes here, the woman is getting more upset, and the guy is starting to back off. And the guy wants to go to the cave and just, whoa, I'm not ready for this.
I don't need this.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
I want to chill out. I don't want to talk about, whoa, just leave me alone for now. And then what happens? What message is that sending to the woman? She's getting more upset because she thinks that you don't want to talk to her, that you want to avoid her, and that you're not interested in listening to her, which gets her really upset. Okay? So if you do need to take some time out and chill or go for a walk or whatever, it's important that you communicate that to her. So she understands that you're not trying to avoid her, that you're not trying to avoid resolving the conflict, but that you just need some time to chill, to blow off steam, to get some air. So if, say, after the first fight in your relationship, you might talk about the dynamic there, and you might come up with a plan for next time.
Right.
So that you've just got this strategy in place. So if you're having disagreements, that it doesn't turn into some colossal disaster with the two of you screaming at each other. And people do that, right? A lot of people do that. They're screaming at each other, they're calling each other names, it's getting really nasty and abusive. You don't want to go there. So you talk about the plan and what it's going to consist of, and you explain to her that you need some time off.
Right.
To back off. You say, it doesn't mean I don't want to listen to you, I don't want to resolve it. I really care what you're going through, but it's the way I am.
And that's really cool. I like that because neither party feels alienated or feels, because hey, we said we're going to do this, so this is all part of our plan, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's something calming in that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially establishing guidelines ahead of time so both of you can feel safe during a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people may resort to yelling and screaming. Some people may resort to name calling, which in my opinion is just unforgivable. How can you stand there and cuss out somebody that you say you love, calling them names? I mean, how can you do that?
Right.
I just don't understand that. But so if your partner, whether the male or the female, tends to do something like that that's really upsetting to the other person, it's important to express how upsetting it is and to try and get the other person's agreement to not do that again.
Right.
So one of the guidelines is no swearing. Another guideline is no name calling.
Right.
Right?
And that's just very simple.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
We talk about name calling and swearing, and I think right away those flip up red flags in my head. And so can I ask you maybe to kind of give me one or two relationship red flags, things that you should look, not necessarily you should look for, but if you see them, I'd probably say is a better way that you should kind of evaluate or reevaluate what's going on.
Okay, there are a number of them, but a couple that come to mind are, say somebody has an anger management problem, either yelling and swearing and punching holes through walls and is very critical, is very defensive, it doesn't listen during an argument, just a very angry person, or you see it building, or maybe it's intensifying with alcohol consumption or something. That's pretty serious. Because you know that it's probably going to get worse over time. It's not going to get any better unless the person really comes to terms with why they're so angry and why they need to resort to that, or they get therapy or something. So you need to question, do you really want to be with somebody who's going to be angry and abusive with you a lot of the time? Or say somebody who is, and thinking of women here, maybe they have expensive tastes, for instance. They've got Cristal tastes.
Yes.
Right? And they want to go to the best places in town, and they want to be treated like a princess. Yeah, that's something you might want to think about too. I mean, if you're loaded and you don't have any problem with it, sure, but most guys aren't loaded, so it could bankrupt you pretty quickly. And,
Right.
and
Very much
you
so.
realize, why is she here, right? Is she here for me, or is she here for the good times and the jewelry? Again, questioning the motives of the person. One of the other red flags that you might see in a relationship, probably near the beginning or first few months, is if the woman isn't interested in introducing you to her friends and family, you'd really have to question what's going on there and think, well, does she really care about me? Does she have feelings about me? Why isn't she bringing me into the rest of her life? What's going on here? And that could signal a number of different things. Maybe she's married. Maybe that's the reason why she's not introducing you to everybody else.
Right.
You'd want to know that you can reach her at any time. You'd want to have her cell number, her work number, her home number, and know that she's available at all times. What they call transparency. Then you're going to have a sense of trust that everything's up front, kind of thing. But if you already have that and she's still not introducing you to family and friends and is holding back a little bit, it could be that she's been burned in a previous relationship and she's a little bit wary about getting into a relationship so quickly. Or on the other hand, maybe she's not really sure about how she feels about you. It's been a couple of months and she's thinking, yeah, he's a really great guy and all of that, but I'm not really feeling it. I'm not developing those feelings that I should be developing. So I think I'll hold off a bit before I take him home, because grandma and grandpa are going to be sitting there rubbing their hands, planning a wedding date, and the dog is going to be jumping up with excitement too. And I don't want to go through that if there's no point.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you might want to have a conversation about it, not a direct conversation, but you might want to test her in various ways, sort of talk about the future of the relationship and where it's going, and maybe try to make some plans with her and various things. Maybe talking about having a vacation together, or a weekend together or something, and just see how she reacts. Because if she's not sure about you or is thinking, oh, I don't know, she's definitely not going to be talking about planning a vacation.
Right.
And she's going to come up with reasons to not go and say, well, it's a little soon, or, well, I don't know where I'm going to be at that point, or with work or whatever. And so you might want to have a conversation about that.
Wow, there's some food for thought, if you will.
Yeah, well, relationships are complex.
This is true, and I don't think we'd have enough time in the men's room. They shut the lights off real soon. So I guess, is there anything that you'd like to leave with the guys that are watching?
It really is a two-way street, and it's up to the couple to work together to please each other and to keep each other happy, and to do what they can to let the other person know how important they are to them.
Thank you for being in the men's room. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to have a woman here to give us the point of view of the fairer sex.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Kateryna.
All right, guys, let's take a look at our 5 takeaway points from Kateryna. Point number 1, when you're on a date with a girl, make sure it's a dialogue, not a monologue. Really listen to what she has to say so you can build a connection between the two of you. Point number 2, build rapport by highlighting things that you have in common with her. Your objective should be to ensure that she has a good time with you. Point number 3, I almost hate to say it, but having sex too soon in a relationship can bring on strong feelings of commitment and could be a danger. If you're looking for something long-term, take it slow and build up to it. She'll be happy you waited. Point number 4, if you're ready to be in a committed relationship with her, it's up to you to be open and honest about it. You'll need to be prepared to cut out your other romantic relationships and prove to her that she's the one. Point number 5, being romantic is all about letting a woman know that she's special. Show her you're thinking about her through your actions. Things like sending her cards at work, a surprise outing, or hiding notes in her things. The key to being romantic is spontaneity and addressing her needs. And remember, there's no such thing as failure, there's only opportunities to learn. And in life, class is always in session. I'm Mark Sparks. We'll see you next time in the men's room.